So now we've got our flyer enemy that can pursue the player and explode. We've got our turret that can shoot. We've got the ability to change the player's material to become invisible, but they will still actually be seen by the enemies because we haven't turned off their collider, which is what the enemies are looking at to see them, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little tweak to our original graph, our original state machine, so that when we're in the visible state, the trigger collider for our player is active, and when we're invisible, it's inactive. So we are going to need to find it, first of all. So in the find weapon state, we'll change the name of this to find objects. And we're just going to copy and paste that action. And the object that we want to find is this one, this trigger. So let's just copy its name because we're going to be looking for it by name. And let's paste that into our action. Now, a little warning here. I had an issue because one of the weapons, I think it's the assault rifle weapon, it actually has an object called trigger as well. So if you're trying to recreate this at home, what I had to do was go in and find the assault rifle object, find the object called, I think we can even just search for trigger. Yeah, here it is. Oh, it's still called trigger. Oh, we might have this issue. I thought I renamed it in this project. Okay, so maybe we can recreate this problem live. Let's see. So if we search for trigger, is it going to find the right one or the wrong one? Or are we going to be able to tell? All right, because I know this is a problem, I'm just going to fix it. So this is going to be, yeah, it's the assault rifle. Funny that I should mention it because I need to fix it now. Trigger. It's also called trigger. So we're just going to call this assault rifle trigger. This is one of the vulnerabilities of finding things by name, right? But I think in this case, it's an easy example of a way to do it. Make sure on the prefab, not the model, that you rename the trigger to something besides trigger so that if you're trying to use this approach and you try to search for the game object, you don't find the trigger of the gun instead of the player's hitbox. So we're going to find the trigger. We're not going to store it in weapon object. We're going to store it in a new variable called hitbox. And now, when we return to the visible state, right, we're going to add an activate game object action. We're going to specify the variable hitbox, and we're going to turn it on, right? We're going to set it to true. It will be active when the player is visible. And copy selected action. I'm going to cheat in favor of the player a little bit. When we start fading, we're going to turn it off because I think that is what players would expect, even if it's not like accurate. This is the trick, right? Always cheat in favor of the player. We're going to deactivate it, right? We're going to set this to false. We'll put it at the bottom. So actually we'll put it at the top so it can, there we go. All right, so we're going to deactivate it when the player presses the button, and then it's going to stay inactive all the way through until we get back to player visible. So we can test that just by entering play mode. We can see the trigger is active, right? Then we press R and it becomes inactive. And now our robot will become visible again. Oh, and actually, I think I had a bug there. The robot was not exploding in the right place. Let me just fix that real quick. The robot needs to explode. The spawn point needs to be the robot. It worked because we just happened to explode in the right spot before, but we need to specify that the spawn point for the robot explosion is the flyer enemy. Okay, so now let's test. We can test it with the turret. I think that'll be a good, easy to see example. Blink. And now, whoop, I am invisible. You cannot see me. Until, tragically, my invisibility wears off and I am killed to death. And so there you have it, folks. So we've got 3 fairly simple game mechanics, right? But that are mechanics you could definitely use in your real games. We've got a patrolling behavior, a scanning and shooting behavior, and then we've got our invisibility mechanic, which both changes the material and deactivates the player's hitbox so that they can be invisible to the robots that want to murder them. And that's our show for today. Thanks so much for watching. Just to remind you, if you sign up for Unity Plus now, you can get all 3 of these assets for free, which is a great deal. So check that out. And yeah, thanks again. And I will see you in 2 weeks for the Amplify shader editor training, where we're going to make that cool refractive invisibility material.